Welcome to DIY Guitar Making episode number 50. That's 50. 50 episodes since I started this thing. To celebrate, I'm going to give you another freebie from the online course, Building an OM Acoustic. It's a long lesson on nut slotting, so long that I have to spread it out over 3 episodes, like I did for the episodes on fretting over the body. So there will be a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. If you like what I do, check out my online courses, hands-on workshops, and so much more at ericschaeferguitars.com. Congratulations, you have reached what I consider to be the final step of the build, slotting the nut. There's still more to be done, the final setup and the finish, but I consider those to be separate projects. This is the last step of the build. By the end of this lesson, I will have a functioning guitar, and if you're building along with me, then hopefully you will too. Before we get started on the nut, I have to install the tuners. In a previous lesson, we fit 4 out of the 6 tuners because the yet-to-be carved neck got in the way of the E-string tuners. In that lesson, called Drilling and Fitting the Tuner Holes, I used a file to taper the holes. Just to demonstrate a different tool, I am using a reamer here instead. Again, the reamer is far more expensive than the file, but it makes short work of this job. I noticed that the curve of the transition area between the neck shaft and the headstock still got in the way of fitting the tuners just a little bit, so I flattened that area a little more with a file. We will blend that in and smooth out the file marks later when I give a final touch-up to the feel of the neck. Now that all the tuners fit snug into the taper of the holes, I thread the nuts and washers on just finger tight and adjust the positions of the tuners until they look good. Once they look good, I tighten down the nuts. I fix the positions of the tuners by installing the set screws in the back. I use a piece of tape as my marker for depth when drilling the pilot holes. I turn my attention to roughing out the nut's shape. I make some marks so I know what to remove. I mark where the head plate meets the nut. On the other side of the nut, I use a set of feeler gauges to transfer the radius of the fretboard to the top of the nut. On the sides of the nut, I connect my 2 lines with a freehand curve. All the material lines will be removed. With the nut's shape roughed out, I can install the 2 E-strings. We will use the 2 E-strings to mark out our string spacing. I install wound strings and unwound strings differently. Here is how I install wound strings. I pinch the string with my left hand at the location of the tuner post. Halfway down the fretboard, I splay my fingers out like this to create slack in the string. This gives me roughly the amount of string that I want wound around the post. So now I clip the excess string length off where my left hand was pinching the string. Now, I turn the tuner post so that the string has to bend slightly more than 90 degrees to go through the post hole. I let about a 1/4 inch of string exit on the other side, and I sharply bend that 1/4 inch of string towards the top of the headstock. Then I sharply bend the string on the other side so that the string weaves through the post hole in a Z shape. Notice how my right hand holds the string as I wind. My index finger guides the string at the post, while my pinky and ring finger maintain tension on the string. On my first pass around the post, I guide the winding so that it goes over top of the excess string. and then for all subsequent passes, I guide the windings below the excess string. This is a good friction hold. The wound strings have a certain bite to them, so winding these strings over and under the excess string prevents the string from slipping out of tune. Remember, I am not tuning this anywhere near pitch at this point. I am simply winding the string until it is taut. The unwound strings don't have any bite to them, so they have to be tied to the post instead. First, I pass the string through the post, again with the post hole slightly greater than 90 degrees to the string. Again, I use my right hand to splay my fingers out and create slack in the string. Then I sharply bend the excess string towards the top of the headstock, then around the post and under the string. Then I pull the excess string over the string and sharply towards the top of the headstock. Now, as before, my index finger guides the string while my pinky and ring fingers maintain tension. This time, all the windings go down the post. I nip the excess string off at the top of the tuner post. That way the player doesn't prick their fingers on the excess string. Now I determine and mark my overall string spacing. I do this simply by adjusting the two E strings until the spacing looks right, and then marking with a fine pencil on both sides of each string. If the strings are too close to the fret end bevel, then the string may occasionally slip off the end while you are playing. If you've ever played an instrument that has this problem, then you know how annoying it can be. However, if the strings are very far from the fret end bevels, well then you just don't have a lot of space for the other strings, and it may be difficult to fret individual notes or to pluck with your fingers. A tight string spacing like this may actually be desirable though, if you want the instrument to be optimized for strumming chords, but not for fingerstyle or for playing leads. I find that about 3/32 of an inch from the fret end bevel for both the low E and the high E is far enough from the bevels that you don't have to worry about slipping off the end, but not so far that you lose significant string spacing. A wide string spacing is important to me because I like my instruments to be played fingerstyle. It is a good idea to check the lay of the strings across the entire length of the fretboard, not just the nut area, before we proceed with setting the string spacing. For more videos like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel here. But remember, not every episode of DIY guitar making is a video. I like to write too, so some episodes are written articles. For a full archive of episodes, go to my website, ericschaferguitars.com. Click the DIY Guitar Making tab, and you will find page after page of detailed guitar making tips. You can also subscribe to the email list to receive episodes in your inbox as they come out. Just enter your name and email and click Sign Up Now. It's free. While you're there, you can also click the Online Guitar Building School tab and check out the online course, Building an OM Acoustic, with more than 60 detailed instructional videos, discounts to luthier suppliers, and access to myself and a community of builders in the members forum. Finally, if you go to the Hands-On Guitar Building School tab, you can check availability and register for an intensive hands-on workshop with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania. That's all for now. See you later.